fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
We'll start with an entire group of people huddled around the campfire in the New World. So, this whole thing that happened a few months ago, right? Yeah, it's crazy. I still can't believe it happened. This is insane, right? This has to just be some strange misunderstanding, or, well, there's no misunderstanding about it. Along with that and what's left of communications, there's not really much else to say. This is the end of the world, right? Yeah. There's nothing really else you could say. All of that could be stated from day one. People start flying up to the sky, and communications and every form of technology nearly is destroyed. Not really much else to say. So that just means we're what? The sinners? People left behind for the apocalypse? Yeah. I don't really know what else to say. Clearly we weren't good people. Clearly we didn't deserve it. And this is our punishment. We're stuck here, while everyone else is up there. I refuse that. I don't believe it. Now, as these men argue, there is one subtle sound in the background that eerily grows louder, before it's joined by more. That sound is the steady and slow roar of a motorcycle, revving up and speeding up. Now, the moment that sound is heard by these men, all of them freeze in fear, and they all do scurry to put out the fire, and take their food and run. They don't care what they have to do. They've heard the stories those engines represent. The only remains of the old world. 4 of them, in fact. And what they represent is something you do not want to see firsthand. Now, these men take their things and run. Try to run as far as they can and get away. Now, exactly how did this world fall apart? Let us cut back. Now, we have Izuku Midoriya and Momo Yaoyorozu, along with Melissa Shields. Now, Midoriya, he has called Melissa, and he's invited her to join the fun they are going to have. Now, Melissa, she's more of a hands-off type of person in this scenario. She will kill. However, she does not find very much enjoyment in it. Death is something she'd rather observe in the natural course. Taking a life with her own hands, however, is something she is not accustomed to. Midoriya can do it as if he's sitting down to eat breakfast. It's just a part of his daily routine. However, for her, it represents a part of her that she has to kill. And she has to stop. Watching a living, breathing thing die naturally brings her peace and calms her down. However, interrupting that with her own intervention feels wrong. It turns her stomach in a way that she does not enjoy. Now, she will come along to observe, however, since it's a beautiful thing you do not need to fear. Now, we do have Midoriya and Momo, along with Melissa, the 3 horsemen. These 3 are currently driving down. I do not know very many European places, so let's just say they're driving down the coast of Europe. Along the way, they are wreaking havoc, and they are tearing apart the remains of the heroes in this sector of the world, as they're also killing and destroying gangs. As we do have one particular battle where 3 semi-trucks were blown up and exploded, several cars were bursted into flames, many of them destroyed or cut in half, many men killed, and we do have Midoriya, who he currently does have 2 chains in his hand, as he's walking forwards, his eyes glowing with red energy. As Midoriya, or his eyes are glowing with fire, not red energy, Midoriya, he does walk forwards, the man backing away, and asking who the fuck is he. As Midoriya, he just does continue to step forwards more, before he does get directly in front of the man. I am something that your mortal mind cannot comprehend. Mortal mind? Yes. For you see, we are all something you do not understand. We're all something you consider to be stories, myths even. Once we find our brother, we shall become real. Your world shall know no peace, and it shall be consumed by the flames of hell. Now, the man is stuck in fear. As Midoriya, he increases those feelings in that man. That man feels like he's staring at the literal devil in the gates of hell, and he's about to be pulled in. As Midoriya, he directly leans down and wraps a chain around the man's legs, before he forms a lock out of a piece of metal. Him chaining these things together tightly, as he does stand up to go to walk away. Now, the man, he's stuck there for a second in fear, as he finally does snap back out of it and look down at his legs. Him quickly going to try to undo the lock, finding that it can't be undone. As Midoriya, he sits back down on his motorcycle and he begins to rev the engine. The man going to try and flip over and claw into the dirt as Midoriya drives off, pulling the man across the, ground. As we do currently have a man who he was flown from a vehicle and impaled on a piece of metal. As we have Melissa, who did take the man and she broke him off of the piece of metal, her being able to lie him down carefully as she does sit there with him. Now, the man is completely surprised. He is going to die. His wounds are lethal. There's no doctors around for miles, and he knows this is the end. However, there's Melissa, the woman in front of him, with snow white skin and, just an angelic figure. Her presence is calming to him and he doesn't understand it. He asked her questions, but he couldn't even form them in his mouth. His tongue didn't want to work. And whenever he finally did pass, he didn't feel fear. He felt a calming presence. And Melissa, she just simply smiled at the man the whole time, observing and watching him perish, not trying to stop the bleeding. However, she did make him comfortable. Now, we do cut over to Shigaraki, who around this time, he can feel something. Something in his mind is growing. These crazy dreams he's been having, and, delusions as the doctors call it, they seem to be getting more and more clear. They're stronger than normal. Shigaraki's the last horseman. He's been feeling the combined brunt of 2 horsemen awakening on his own. And his human mind was not able to bear it. However, the more and more Shigaraki began to awaken, the more he began to understand. As we do have Shigaraki today, it has been 2 days since we last caught up with him, and he's currently facing away from the wall and the doctors, as he does think he has to get out of here. Something is wrong. He feels like whatever is happening out there, it's coming straight for him. This world is against him, isn't it? It doesn't make sense. From what he's heard, the entire world is falling apart. And, not only that, diseases are getting worse out there. He has to go back outside to do something with them. He doesn't understand. That's as far as his mind gets. Along with that, there's a looming feeling of doom. He feels like he's going to die. Shigaraki's just thinking, as it finally does click in his head. Before he does go to move over and fall to the ground, grabbing the marker that was left in his room. Now, Shigaraki, he does take this marker, as he does put it into his mouth and begin to swallow it. Now, Shigaraki does begin to choke, and this is whenever Shigaraki, he does begin to start spasming on the ground, and he does begin to, struggle breathing. Now, as this does happen, we do have with the other horsemen, where many of them, they do feel this. However, Melissa, she does drop onto her knees and begin to scream out in pain, talking about how something feels off, and she's absolutely panicking about this. Now, whenever the nurses do rush into the room and the doctor does, run in, he does directly stick his hand into Shigaraki's mouth, trying to pull out the marker. However, Shigaraki, as soon as the doctor does grab onto the marker and one of the nurses do perform the Heimlich, Shigaraki bites down and, using his quote-unquote quirk or his horseman ability, he directly injects the man with poison. Now, the moment that does happen, the man, he does pull out the marker as his hand does begin to blister and, bleed. The man screaming that it hurts, and that this shouldn't be possible. Now, Shigaraki, he does directly go to turn his head in the direction of the nurse, as he does go to spit directly into her face a large wad of poison. Now, the nurse, she does scream out in pain, as Shigaraki does then look over at the other nurse and begin to use his powers. Now, he directly looks at her before ordering her to leave him alone, or he's going to do the same thing to her. Now, the nurse freezes as she does go to stand up, Shigaraki ordering her to undo his restraints. Now, the nurse, she slowly does walk towards Shigaraki and behind him. As she does undo it, Shigaraki, he tears the jacket off out through the front, and he does then spin around, him grabbing the nurse by her neck as he does push her against the wall, asking her where the keys are, and how he can get out of here. Now, Shigaraki does watch the nurse, her eyes going directly to him before darting behind him. Shigaraki looking at that as he does directly go to throw her in front of him, or where he was. The doctor stabbing into the nurse with a needle as he does inject her with morphine. The nurse directly falling down to the right as Shigaraki does go to bring his hand up and directly touch the man's face, before he does infect him with more diseases and viruses. Now, he does also increase the amount of poison he directly put into this man's body. And he does begin to think about it all, as the man does fall backwards, choking on his own blood and liquefied face. Shigaraki does think, this is his quirk, the power he was gifted by his god. He doesn't understand. It can be so violent and so, well, eerie sometimes. However, he wanted to use this gift to cure people, to make people's lives better, to make less people sick. However, he enjoyed that far too much. Him going to look down at the doctor as he does see the keys on his waist. Him then running over, grabbing the keys and going to run out of his room. As we do have where Midoriya and the rest of the horsemen, they are double timing it to their location. They were having a lot of fun on the way there. However, they need to move quickly. Now, as they begin to move, we do have with the entire world. People are reportedly being flung into the sky, and large amounts of clothing are being found. Now, along with that, there was a sound that people began to hear. All over the world, it was believed trumpets were being played. And many different people didn't understand it. Some feared what this could mean. Others knew what it was, and they all simply just began to pray. Now, Shigaraki, even whenever he was running out of the hospital room and he did look out the window, he saw this happening. And his blood ran cold. The minute he realized what was going on, he just fell to his knees and brought his hands up. Him praying by the window because of what he's seeing. Now, Shigaraki, he knows he's doomed to stay here, especially after what he just did. All the good he's done, yes. He should have a spot. He should have a place. He should be going up there. But after what he just did in the other room just now, minutes ago, he knows he doesn't deserve it. He's taken 2 lives, even 3 possibly. It's unacceptable. He feels like he might have to live with that for the rest of his days on this doomed planet. And we do have Midoriya, as he's currently flying over 100 miles down the highway. And he's getting ready. Midoriya turning off into a city as he does watch many different people fly up into the air. Now, as this does happen, Midoriya, he just begins to start massacring people left and right, over and over again, as he does hear them all scream. Now, we do have where Shigaraki, he does finally get outside the hospital, and he is waiting. Him bringing up both of his hands, as he does just look up towards the sky. Now, Shigaraki, he is waiting for something. He's waiting for his own judgment. If he does not deserve to be up there with everyone else, he wants to be punished. He wants to have a sentence served to him right then and there. As we do have minutes later, Shigaraki's been standing there for what feels like an eternity. However, somebody finally does come walking up. Now, this person, Shigaraki, he is confused. Whenever he does open his eyes, he sees a woman floating down in front of him. And his eyes did widen, as it's a maiden in pure white. And she looks amazing. Shigaraki, he thinks she's an angel. And he does begin to speak, asking her who exactly is she. As the woman, she does finally come down to eye level with him. And she does pull something out from behind her. Shigaraki, confused, he does see a scythe. And she does go to bring it back over her head before going to start flinging it down towards him. Shigaraki closing his eyes, as we do have where it stops directly in front of his face. And Melissa, she does open her mouth to speak. It has been a very, very long time, hasn't it, brother? Shigaraki opening his eyes to see the blade directly in front of his nose. Now, he does go to fall backwards, asking who exactly is she? I see. You're not fully awakened, are you? Who? What are you talking about? You feel it too. The strange feeling towards me? What? Yeah, you just tried to kill me. Far from that, brother. I'm trying to awaken you. Awaken me? Who are you? I am the horseman of death. Horseman of death? Yes, quite so. Now, do you understand? Horseman of death. Horseman. You're saying I'm a horseman? You catch on quick. I expect nothing less from the renowned scientist Tomura Shigaraki. I don't understand. Why? Is that why I'm not? Yes, very much so. In fact, it's not just you, it's all of us. Now, an engine does begin to roar, as it's followed by another one. As you have Midori, he does come flying directly around the corner on his motorcycle. And Momo is not too far behind him. Midori is still dragging the corpse of that man from so long ago. As you have Midori, he does finally stop, throw down the kickstand, and directly get off, walking over to look at his brother. So this is him? Midori would say to just stand directly in front of Tomura. Yes, I believe so. The presence of death is absent around him. In fact, it lingers on him. He's just murdered. I see. Who did you kill? My doctors. But who are... Oh. You were thrown in the loony bin. Not surprised. Anyone get sick around here? Yes, a few patients, but how is that? Listen to me, brother. Who are you? Me? I am the horseman of war. What I would say. Him bringing up his hand and pointing it to his right, as Midoriya sends a large amount of his power of combustion and fire towards a large building. Shigaraki watching as Midoriya, he completely blows apart the side of the building and it does begin to collapse. Before he does turn back to Midoriya. I'm War. And this, Midoriya says, introducing Momo, telling him that this is their sister. The horsemen of famine. Now, Shigaraki is confused. However, they do explain to him that he is pestilence. His role is to cause disease. It is to cause sickness and death. Now, Midoriya does ask Shigaraki if he's ever experienced feelings where people were sick around him, people were sick of him, where people around him died of diseases. And Shigaraki does begin to think. Back home in Ireland, the place where he's from, things were so bad over there. Their crops started dying, people started dying of sickness, the strange disease. They left. It followed them though, didn't it? But that doesn't make sense. But what about what I'm seeing right now? That, you know what it is. We don't need to explain it to you. However, you know what that does mean? We need to pass judgment on the rest of the world. What do I to say? Him beginning to smile, as a helmet begins to appear on his head. Midoriya informing Shigaraki that they need to pass judgment on the rest of this world because of the simple fact that it is theirs for the taking. What is left of this world will go to them and whoever does remain. And it does just simply mean one thing. This world is only meant for the strong to survive. he does not know what the war was supposed to be that would end the world. However, the next one that he will see happening will be with what weapons do remain. What weapons people have access to. Firearms, guns, sticks and stones if he so does demand it. This place will go back to the Stone Ages if they so please. And they will build this world free of sin. Now, Midoriya does look down at Shigaraki, as does hold out a hand asking if he would like to join them in their journey. Now, Shigaraki is confused. However, he does think that he can use his power against this guy and just simply kill him. As soon as him and Midoriya do touch hands and Midoriya does pull Shigaraki up, Shigaraki does stare at Midoriya confused before looking at his hands, bringing up his other one and touching Midoriya by his forearm. Ah, you're trying to use your abilities. We're immune to them. All of us. But that doesn't make sense. I've never met a person immune to my quirk. Not quirk. Now, Midoriya would just explain it the same way Melissa explained it. They are reincarnations of the previous horsemen. And they were meant to doom this world. They will restart it once again. And afterwards, they will make sure to clean the slate for whoever comes next. Since they are going to be here for a long, long time, they are going to be the gods of the next world. Now, Shigaraki, he does find this hard to accept. However, after he does leave with all of them, he does begin to understand it. The idea that's being put into his head. As, about 2 days later, he would awaken. And he would become the Horseman of Pestilence. Now, the day that did happen was the day a solar flare struck the Earth and destroyed most of the forms of communication. And all that was left was radio and certain signals that people could use to communicate. Now, as that did happen, rumors began to spread. People knew about what happened in the old world. And this new one, it is horrifying. Especially because even centuries after the old world was destroyed, people still heard tale of these people. The ones who take pleasure in the slaughter of them. The ones who put them in this cage. As it's the horsemen of the apocalypse. It is them and demons who rule this world. And even they are powerless to stop any of them. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed this What If. And I'll catch you guys in the next series.